Man dies and discovers God's secrets, the truth about earthly suffering. Why does God allow suffering for those who follow Him and have given their hearts to Him? This is a question many people ponder, as the concept of suffering can be challenging to grasp. Hi, I'm T.S. Dismas, and I'd like to share my life before my near-death experience. I served in the military straight out of high school, traveling around the world and engaging in various activities. I was always active, participating in mixed martial arts, weightlifting, marathons, and extreme sports. Unbeknownst to me, exposure to toxic chemicals during my military service led to the development of several autoimmune diseases, one of which attacked my organs, causing extensive scarring in my heart. This condition ultimately resulted in my near-death experience. I found myself fighting for my life in the ER for 7 hours. As I slipped into heart failure and cardiac arrest, a crash team of over 20 people worked frantically to save me. Amidst the chaos, I found solace in prayer, accepting my fate and making peace with the idea of death. Suddenly, I felt my body shake violently as I was ejected into a dark void. Despite the absence of any celestial bodies or luminous beings, I was enveloped in overwhelming love, peace, and joy. This stark contrast to the chaos I had just experienced was both baffling and comforting. In this void, I realized I could perceive in 360 degrees, and behind me, I sensed a massive, radiant light. It beckoned to me, offering a sense of warmth and purpose amid the darkness. As I turned towards the light, I could still perceive the dark void behind me. Despite this, my awareness expanded exponentially, encompassing every thought, idea, and memory. It was akin to accessing a vast database, yet remarkably clear and organized. I felt an innate desire to be with the light, and in an instant, I found myself drawn towards it. However, the transition was seamless. I felt no sensation of movement, only a profound sense of presence. The light appeared infinite, its brilliance far surpassing that of the sun. Strangely, it didn't cause discomfort. Rather, it was inviting, radiating warmth and comfort. As I approached the light, it felt like being enveloped in a river of love, an overwhelming sensation that flooded my soul. It expanded my capacity to experience love, filling me with an unimaginable intensity. Walking further into the light, I expressed a desire to see Jesus, a presence I could sense. Instantly, the light opened up into a vast room filled with countless beings. Each entity resembled a human torso, adorned with sparkling lights of varying intensity, mirroring the beauty of the central light. In the midst of this radiant congregation stood a being as bright as the initial light I encountered. It exuded an aura of divine presence, a tangible manifestation of love and grace. I knew it was Jesus without needing an explanation or introduction. When I expressed my desire to see his face, it appeared. What struck me was my inability to recall his features even as I looked at him. While I could see him smiling and showing love, I couldn't retain the memory. All I remembered was the brightness of his face, much like the light I had seen before. I realized my brain's condition in the hospital hindered my ability to remember. His face, now divine, defied memory. Our communication transcended speech. It was more like telepathy. We understood each other's thoughts effortlessly. He guided me through my sins, emphasizing 3 things. First, I needed to pray more, dedicating my actions to him entirely. Second, I had to learn to suffer joyfully, sacrificing without expecting anything in return. This could be small gestures, like choosing a restaurant or enduring significant pain and suffering. I went through my medical conditions, but doing so joyfully meant accepting my circumstances. I couldn't change them, so fighting against them only caused more suffering. I realized this mirrored how God willingly suffered and sacrificed for us. True love, I learned, often requires sacrifice. Lastly, I needed to share this love by genuinely caring for others and willing their good. Before my near-death experience, NDE, I leaned heavily on science. Afterward, I believed in God wholeheartedly. While I still appreciate science for its practicality, my experience taught me that certain immaterial things, like love, trust, and truth, cannot be measured. Similarly, we can't measure God, but we can experience Him. My encounter with Him solidified my faith, but I recognize others have strong faith without such experiences. Faith, I've realized, can't be quantified. It must be experienced. I'm convinced of God's existence by the peace I now feel, especially about death. While many fear death, my perspective shifted after facing mortality. I understand that we're all gradually moving towards death, but acceptance of this fact can bring peace, even in the face of uncertainty. I was afraid when I faced death. Unlike in combat or mixed martial arts, where fear never gripped me, the prospect of dying in that hospital room terrified me. However, my encounter with God during those moments changed everything. When I returned to life, fear vanished entirely. Even when doctors warned of the possibility of death, I remained calm during my ICU stay. This experience showed me that God can transform fear into strength and courage. Why does God allow suffering for those who follow Him? It's a question many ponder. We often resist suffering, preferring things to go our way. But life, like a football game, has rules beyond our control. Constantly getting what we want isn't beneficial, it distorts reality. Teachers give tests not just to evaluate, but to help students grow. Similarly, suffering tests and strengthens us. Losing a job, for instance, can lead to resentment or resilience. Embracing change and seeking happiness brings us closer to God's plan, even if it's unclear at the time. We may not understand suffering's purpose until we've overcome it. That's why I underwent this experience. Initially, I dwelled on the extreme suffering, but now I see its value. In heaven, God filled me with love, healing the trauma I endured. I realized that God allowed suffering to bring me closer to love, enriching my life in ways I couldn't fathom otherwise. It was an act of kindness on His part. When given the choice to stay or return, I considered my family. However, God revealed that His love for them far surpasses mine. He reminded me that He can care for them better than I ever could. Understanding this, I chose to return, knowing that even in facing more suffering, I would be filled with more love upon my return. As I began the journey back, the only discomfort I felt in heaven was leaving Jesus. My soul felt out of place returning to the familiar yet foreign realm of earth. Despite this, I moved forward with my decision, knowing it was the right path. So, I had to return through the tunnel, and at its end, instead of the dark void, I saw my hospital room. It dawned on me that I hadn't brought anything to heaven, no good deeds, just my broken heart. In life, I loved myself more than God, but I did have some love for Him. As I looked at my hospital room, I felt a mix of excitement and pain. Excitement for the chance to live for God, despite the agony of leaving His presence. In the room, medical equipment surrounded me. The Lucas machine doing chest compressions, tubes, and brain monitors. It seemed they were stopping life-saving efforts, though they never explicitly said so. When I re-entered my body, the connection to heaven closed, and I was engulfed in the familiar chaos of life, pain, noise, and distractions. Thank you all for tuning into this interview. I want to remind you that God truly loves you. I know many doubt this, but I hope one day you'll experience the same love and joy I did forever. That's my wish for all of you.